First topic on the docket tonight, I want to talk about 4 games through the season. This used to be a point in the season where you could call the 1 quarter mark. Teams divvy it up sometimes. I think they probably still do. But Cora, welcome back to the show. I want to talk to you about, how you been?
Good, pretty good. Awesome. Living, loving life.
Yeah.
I feel like I need blood pressure medication after every single game still.
Yeah, still.
And
I was about ready to say
I'm going to start billing the Vikings.
I was going to say just pop your bottle from last year because you should already have it on hand.
My gosh.
Yeah, so for some reason, when the 2020 season started, all of a sudden Vikings, the team was like, we're just going to do close games like the Chargers from now on. Because I swear to God, before that, from the start of the Zimmer era through 2019, we had the fewest. I think it was 31st. We ranked 31st in 1-score games. We either got our asses kicked or we won 24-10, but we digress. All right. So through 4 games, Cora, I think you'd have to say Justin Jefferson is the team MVP, even though he had 2 quiet games, but he's the one that puts the butts in seats. He's the one that dictates kind of how the game goes, how life goes. Other than Justin Jefferson, ma'am, who would you consider the Vikings MVP?
One of 2. They're both on special teams.
Oh, wow.
And I will go. Can I say both of them?
Yeah, there's no rules here.
So Ryan Wright, and Greg
Mm-hmm.
Joseph.
Both of them.
Because Greg, first game he's ever made 5 field goals in a game. So that's a huge accomplishment for him. And he's been doing really well besides the missed, extra point. But whatever. We'll say whatever that. But Ryan Wright, I can't say his name apparently. Ryan Wright has been doing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's been killing it.
The cool part about that is it's like the competition came out of nowhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
he took it and ran with it, and all he does is boom kicks and complete 4th down passes now.
Right. Yeah. And he just came out of nowhere. He's doing really, really well. And I feel like he has to be MVP other than Justin Jefferson, because what other fan base knows their punter's name?
I think
it's been a while, to your credit, it's been a while that we've had a punter that can flip the field position the way that he has. Probably since Mitch Berger. We've had good punters in the past, like Kluwe, whatnot. They've been good, but they've been hang time type guys or low returns. He literally flips field position, which has been great because our defense hasn't, been great.
Did I read somewhere that he was a quarterback in high school?
I'm sure most of the punters are. They're all pretty good athletes as it is.
That's fair.
Yeah,
because I thought I read somewhere that he was a quarterback in high school, and they were like, "Oh, you're going back to your roots with that 4th down completion."
Well, yeah, and then I mean, he would have had to be built like Culpepper. If he was the current stature, he would have looked like Culpepper out there. And you are correct. It appears at let's see, where am I? San Ramon in California. Yep, nice. He played quarterback during his junior and senior year. So
there you go.
I mean, it wasn't the prettiest pass in the world, but you wouldn't expect it to be. And it was completed to Jalen Naylor, also a rookie who's been on our show, his first career reception. All right, so Cora's got us covered on special teams. Ron can't be Jefferson because he's the obvious choice outside of Jefferson. Who's the through week 4 MVP?
Well, for me, I think it's actually pretty easy, and I would even argue, including Jefferson, that he has it. And I know it's not just hyping him because it's Bryant McKinney's our co-host, but Christian Darrisaw. I mean, he doesn't allow, knock on wood, but he hasn't been allowing pressure, and him in the run game, he's been dominant. He's every bit the 1st round pick tackle that you want. And obviously with the time he missed last year to start the season, there's always that, okay, he was looking the part, but then how's he going to do after his first off season into his first full year as a starter? And man, he's been nothing but impressive. I know in the summer they were giving him the comps of Trent Williams, and which obviously you don't want to put that on a young kid right off the bat, one of the best to do it. But man, he's looking the part. He's it makes it it just helps the offense, obviously, when you don't have to worry about the blind side for the quarterback, but obviously being able to then run behind him and use that versatility. So for me, hands down, he's been the most consistently best player on the team, because Jefferson did have that 14-yard game. And then even that game where it wasn't his best against Slay, whereas Darrisaw, doesn't matter who's lined up against him, he's been great.
The thing I remember when those Trent Williams comps started to happen, and I write for Vikings territory, I was like, do I really want to proliferate this? Like, am I jinxing this? Is this too much? Am I being a homer editor of this website? Because it was the Vikings coaching staff that was saying it. And then I think like Albert Breer and Pete Prisco stopped by the camp and they reported on it. I'm like, well, I guess if they're running with those comparisons, like, it just felt a little dicey, but it appears that they got away with it.
Did not jinx it.
I'll also always have a special bond too with Darrisaw, not just because we had him on, but because for years, like I tout like a certain person leading up to the draft, and some of them have not worked. Because I was big on Laquan Treadwell, I was big on Gladney, I was not big on Jefferson. So I've had a few years where it was looking grim. But then the fact that I remember, on the show right after the championship game played, and I was on the Darrisaw bandwagon, and so it's good to see him, be more than what I was expecting. So that's good.
B Mac, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm late.
No, it's all good. Hey, so you and I have covered, so to speak, 5 Bears games together, and I always give you the opportunity to tell a Bears memory or your favorite Bears memory. Do you have one for us tonight?
Probably going to Gibson's restaurant the night before. The night before the game. That's probably one of my favorites. I'm trying to think, like, I felt like it was always windy when I went there.
Yeah.
I don't remember like anything too specific. I mean, we had Tommy on.
Yeah.
He talked about me injuring him. So I don't really recall too much.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that one. We're talking about some of the standout players outside of Jefferson, and the baton was to me. I think outside of Jefferson, Darrisaw was on my list. It's also Dalvin Tomlinson on defense, because if you look around the landscape of defense, he's really the only player that hasn't had a blah game or a game that stunk or was underwhelming. So I would say that his consistency, he leads the Vikings in Pro Football Focus grade, 80.5. He'd probably be mine. And then Zadarius Smith has also been a contributor. And then Brian O'Neill would just kind of give him the Tom Hanks treatment, where it's like, oh, he was great in that movie. And like, of course he is. He's Tom Hanks. That's how we are with Brian O'Neill these days.
Right.
Suddenly, yes. So where are you at tonight, Brian? Are you in Atlanta or what?
I am still in Atlanta. I leave this weekend.
Oh, all right. Cool. Yeah. We'll be seeing you here in about, my goodness, a week and a half. We're coming down.
Yep.
Cora, are you going to a road game this year?
No.
Haven't convinced the husband that you need to hit the road for one?
No, haven't convinced the husband / I don't think I want to bring the kids with, and we won't have anyone to watch our crazy trio.
You don't have any of their grandparents in town, or they just
my mom works weekends during the fall, so no.
I see. Yeah,
unfortunately,
so this one for Miami, I'm not bringing children. I do have a grandparent, one of their grandparents lined up. So thankfully we have that. However, my kids are also getting to the age where you don't have to worry about that anymore. Like, oh, how will they act? So this one, we're not bringing them with, but I think from here on out, especially next year, my kids are 11 and 6. And so they're out of the phase of, all right, are they going to be terrorists tonight for the most part? Ron, you're getting there, sir.
I affectionately refer to them as chaos tornadoes.
Yeah.
There you go.
My kids are young enough where, being 3 and 1.5. But now at least they're old enough where they can be left with, my in-laws or whatnot, and be all right. So,
yeah. Tell me, Ron, back to football. What do you fear, if anything, about Week 5 against the Bears?
Honestly, I know it's hard to think of one thing that I fear. Obviously, like any type of L is going to be awful. Like that's the worst. Like even if it's a game where you play a flawless game and you lose, you're then being outperformed by this Chicago Bears team and Justin Fields, where they don't have trust in him to throw the football. He hasn't shown he's been able to, because Again, not because of him necessarily, but lack of weapons, lack of offensive line, just not a good situation for him. So that would be the ultimate fear. But in reality, I think if there's one thing, it's if we, and I hate to use the play down to the competition, but if we look like we're, and I know it's a division game and those are always different, but if we look like we belong on the same field as the Bears, or if they belong on the same field as us, whether or not we win, whatever, that to me, I think would be a bad taste, because there's no area that the Bears have that they are better than the Vikings in any which way, whether it's, offensive lineman, quarterback play, receivers, anything on the defense. They have good players. Roquan Smith is an elite player, one of the best to play. Jalen Johnson at cornerback, he's very good. Eddie Jackson's having a revival after having a down year last year. So they have good names, but collectively, there's not a thing that they do better than the Vikings. And this should be a game that the Vikings do come out and kind of steamroll them and get kind of that momentum after having a couple of back-to-back tough wins. But this is the kind of, in my opinion, the get-right game, home game before a tough road game coming off of an emotional London game. So a lot of things, to deal with there. But we'll get to predictions later. But if we look like the same class of Bears, that could be concerning.
Yeah, and that's
Ron, I want to ask Ron a question. Who you think is a better team, the Bears or the Lions?
I think the Lions at this point.
Okay.
I think, and they're showing it, like, because they're the highest scoring team in the league. The problem is they give up the most points. And they also have pieces on defense as well. But the Bears, it's hard to look at at least their offense, their specialist players, and to see at least even a direction that they're heading. Because their rookie receiver, he's 25 years old. So it's not like you have a 20-year-old that can develop. And everyone's just kind of taking a step back. And I don't know if it's from Eberflus and the coaching style, or, Ryan Pace and just what he's trying to build. So hopefully, not that I want to see the Bears good, but I always want to see the competition, because you as the Vikings will only get better as their opponents get better. And if the Lions, Packers, and Bears are always a legit fight for them, then I think that's the best chance to see a Viking Super Bowl, is to have competition within the division.
Bryant, on the Bears roster, outside of maybe Roquan Smith in the middle, like the Vikings just head to toe, every area have better personnel. And so is there any fears that come to your mind when you watch this game Sunday?
I feel like they just need to go out there and just every person be the best at their position. Because, you don't want to take a game like this. Could be a sleeper game if they're aware of the team being not as good. Normally for me it was always Detroit, but now it sounds like this season is the Bears. So you don't want this to be a sleeper game. You're coming off a high emotional win, coming from London against New Orleans, and don't sleep on his rival. Just always keep in mind this is still your rival.
As a player, Bryant, when you're obviously when you're better than the other team, obviously in the media and everything, they call it that prototypical trap game. Is that something that's ever brought up in the locker room, where coaching staff emphasizes that don't be trapped by this game, or is that kind of does it go without being said?
It can be a trap game because then it's you're looking past the Dolphins already. You know what I'm saying? So this is probably why it's a trap game. You're coming from London. Like I said, a win over the Saints, and then you're coming to this game that you're yeah, we should beat them, and now we're looking ahead to figure out how we're going to do against the Dolphins. So this would probably be the trap game.
Thankfully, it is against the Bears, so I think there's enough culture in the locker room that says this is Bears week, so we can't dick around. I'm banking on that anyhow. Cora, my two fears are pretty self-explanatory. The Bears actually run the ball pretty well because they do it a lot, and the Vikings don't stop the run very well. So there's a chance that we get into this time of possession upside down, where the Bears move the sticks on the ground, and then we're sitting there going, come on. And then my other one is that Ed Donatel is notoriously poor at stopping mobile quarterbacks. So in theory, if there's ever a game to stop that, it's this one. However, if Fields was to have a welcome to the NFL game, it would probably be against a coordinator like Donatel, who for the life of him can't stop mobile quarterbacks, especially last year with the Broncos. So I don't think
Knowing the Vikings, it would be.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't think that will happen, but it's one of those irrational fears that I might have. What is yours if we didn't steal them all from you already?
Well, I had a couple, but if we are close in this game, the utter meltdown that's going to happen, just all over the place. But in all honesty, Roquan Smith is my fear. I have him on one of my fantasy leagues. Ooh. And he is killing it every week. Every week I feel like I want to pull him out, and I'm like, no, we'll see how it goes. And he is killing it every single week. So, and I know that, I mean, we're getting there. We're almost good, but our offensive line still has some work to do. We're better. We're average, better than last year where we weren't, but I definitely fear for him and just kind of like the miscommunication we've been having. I think he's going to be a menace.
And I do want to kudos to him. Cause the situation obviously where he doesn't feel wanted there, and ask for a trade, for him to come out and to continue to be that dominant player that he is. Cause we've seen players where it's gone one of two ways, where, you don't want me here. Like, I'm 24, 25 years old. I'm going to play for myself. But man, he's out there and he gives it all 100% of the time. So now if he wants to come and join the purple next year, I'll be extremely happy with that. But yeah, kudos to him.
Cora, the Vikings injury report is surprisingly skimpy in a good way. Andrew,
so long.
Yeah, and now, unless something weird pops up on Thursday, everybody is going to play. And I don't remember the last time I've just seen a clean injury report. Of course, Lewis Cine is out because of the broken leg. It's his birthday today. He's 23. But Andrew Booth.
What was his final?
Fractured ankle, and then I think ligament damage as well.
It was one of the compound fractures where the bone goes through the skin. That's why.
Is that like how long of a recovery is that?
Oh, he won't be around until at least next September.
Is that like a career type thing, or
it can be, but it's not in this circumstance unless his recovery goes wonky. But yeah, he's good as gone until at least September, blah blah blah, of next year. But Andrew Booth is back. He's been gone for almost a month now with the quad thing, and this was the knock on him coming out of the draft, was injuries. Does it give you encouragement that he could be folded into the mix in the next month or so?
I do. I thought he looked super awesome during training camp. And when he did play, I mean, he was playing up to people that no one was expecting him playing up to. So I would like to say yes. And, you never know.
He was unceremoniously, Ron was slid back to the Vikings CB5 or CB6. They kind of quietly did it and put Evans ahead of him. So I don't know that because he's back, it means that he's going to go out there and, play half the snaps. It probably won't happen.
Right.
But Ron, do you expect him to, get interwoven into a secondary that hasn't been great?
I think he will be. And I think this is the game to do that. Because again, the Bears aren't boasting a receiving core that's going to go out there and dominate. So now's the time to kind of get his feet wet, against the guys that they're throwing out there, because the following week, us as fans can look ahead. I hope the players don't. The following week, you're going to need cornerbacks out there, because with Waddle and Hill and with their speed, they're going to run. You could be the best corners out there, but they're just going to run you tired. So just like how the Packers, after Moss torched them, all they did was draft cornerbacks the next year, because they just needed to stack up on them. We're going to kind of have to have guys ready to do that. And especially with those two receivers, those are physical corners. Booth and Evans are physical. So rather than trying to run with them, because you're not going to, try to be physical with them. So I'd like to see him, not play the whole game, but just get mixed in with Dantzler, with Peterson, kind of see how they gel together and go from there.
And I do think this is a good game to get him in. I mean, if he's healthy, if he's ready to go, kind of thing, because it's like you said, it's not a lot of, it's obviously a lot of pressure because whatever, but they're not doing really well. So this could give him a boost of confidence that he needs. or give him that experience without potentially causing too much of an upset and too much of a ripple if he doesn't do well. So I feel like this could be a game that he could get in and play in, whether he does or not,
Yeah, I think he'll be off the injury report, which is good news for him. So he's at least eligible. He played 2 special team snaps, and that was it against the Packers. Bryant, the Bears have 9 former Vikings players, and I think 5 of them are on the active roster. When you played against either former teammates or friends, was it extra fun, extra weird, or how was it?
It was combination, depending on who it was. Combination of both. Like, it was weird, like lining up, but then again, it kind of felt like practice.
Yeah.
Who it was. And then sometimes it could be fun. Like, I played against, Avery was my college teammate, but I played against him as a Viking. And like, so that was like kind of fun to me. So it just depends on who it is, like your relationship with them.
Okay. Yeah. So on the former Bears front, like I said, they got Oodles, they got the fullback, Kari Blassingame, Dakota Dozier's on IR. He won't play. Practice squad guys, DeMarquise Gates, Harrison Hand, Jalen Holmes, and then the active roster guys, Riley Reef, backup quarterback Trevor Simeon, who's with the Vikings in 2018, Amir Smith-Marset, who was shockingly released about a month and a half ago, and then Armon Watts, who also was shockingly released, I think the day before Amir Smith-Marset. Those guys will probably actually play, although Smith-Marset hasn't been targeted very much in the Vikings offense. But there's something about this new Bears front office that enjoys ex-Vikings personnel, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
I would say expect them to have pretty decent games because like they'll want to kind of show off their skills against the Vikings because that was their former team.
I hear you. All right, Ron, you teased predictions about 5, 6, 7 minutes ago. Let me hear your prediction and why.
Giving an actual score is tough because I don't know what I don't know what numbers settle on. But I think this is the game where not everything comes together, but more things come together than not. And I think we do win by 3 scores. So I have us winning by 17, as flabbergasted that is. So whether that's 27-10 or 34-17, I'm not sure. But I think that we win it pretty handily. And maybe with a last drive field goal to put it to that 17. But I mean, I don't see it being a sweat for us as fans. That is not for them.
We're due for one of those. Cora, I think you joked, I think it was off air, about your blood pressure medicine, about how they're doing it to you again. The last 2 years have just been riddled with close games. And so far we've had a couple in 2022. Do you think this Bears game will be close? Give us a prediction score, if you will.
I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we weren't coming back from London and it wasn't like a home Bears game, mainly just London. If we weren't coming back from London, I would say that we would totally win. I still think we are going to win because the Bears haven't won on the road. I mean, we played 2 games, but the Bears haven't won yet on the road. We haven't lost yet at home. So I do feel like we'll win because we have that advantage. But coming back, I just feel like everyone will realize why you usually have a bye week after international travel. I still think we'll win, but I think it's going to be another like frustrating. You can tell the players physically that normally you have a bye week to recover.
So Vikings by how many?
I'm going to say by like 2 scores. Whether it be like, I mean, it's going to be one of those frustrating games where it's like they're ahead by like a field goal and then they score a touchdown, or they're ahead by a touchdown and they score a field goal. So not like 2 touchdowns, but like 10 points.
Okay.
But it'll be towards the end where they like drive it in. But yeah, I still feel like it's going to be frustrating because they're just going to be tired.
I was going to say a 10-point game. I was going to say 24-10. I was going to say 24-14. And I just felt like one side of the ball was going to get to a slow start in the first half.
All right. I have a little bit more lopsided. I'm more aligned with Ron. Go figure. I am 31-13 Vikings because although I do believe in both of your
31-13.
I do. Yeah. Because I kid you not, the Bears roster is really, it's weird that somebody put that together and thought this is what we need for our developmental quarterback.
It is weird. It's so devoid of talent at key spots. Like, and I don't mean to to disrespect any of those players out there, because I think it is more of a general manager thing. But when you look at it up and down, they did not set Justin Fields up to be the best version of Justin Fields that he can be. And even like on the defensive side, like they have some talented players, but overall it's like they have Roquan Smith, no other linebackers, worth the damn. They traded Khalil Mack. They didn't add anything in pass rush. So that's where, again, I look at it. I'm not saying they're the worst team in the league, although they're not far from it. But man, I haven't seen a roster this depleted for a long time.
Yeah, usually I give this speech on one of my other shows. Usually sometime in the summer, you go through and you look at every team's roster, if you're weird like me. And almost every team, even like the Texans this year, you look at them, you're like, that's not that bad. And you start to talk yourself into it. But then you have to compare it to the rest of the rosters in the league, and it just doesn't line up. Same thing with the Bears. You could be like, oh, yeah, Byron Pringle, I could see him getting 800 yards or something. You talk yourself into it, and then you start looking at, all right, look at the Bills roster, and you're like, oh, my God, this is like high school versus professionals here. So, yeah, I think that the Vikings do have a get-right game. Don't look flawless, but it's enough to take care of the Bears by, I guess, in that case, 18 or so.
And I will say this, like, Cora, with your point on the travel and everything, the one thing that at least that I look at that maybe will help you compensate for that, they came back right after the game on Sunday. So they were back early. So then it turns into a normal week, which, again, that I think is beneficial. And, yes, I know.
But that long flight can drain you too, though. And you know, being
sure.
dehydrated all that time too, being on planes. Because that's about
it was a quick turnaround.
And I wonder if the short amount of time there, the quick turnaround there, I wonder if that takes into anything. So you're not truly acclimated to London time and that kind of thing. So I mean, it'll be interesting what happens, but I still think they might not.
It may be one of those things
because we're home, but
it may be one of those things that there will be a lot that the NFL learns, like, or teams learn from this, like as far as when to travel doing these international games, or whether or not to have a bye week after. So, because it is the first time.
Have a bye week?
I don't think they do, but
nobody has a bye week yet. If you study your fantasy football teams, you should know the bye weeks.
I don't have any Saints on my team. That's the thing.
I don't either.
All right, group. That's all we got for tonight. We'll be back Monday to recap whatever happens, either with a 4-1 team or a 3-2 team, and we'll begin to size up Miami week.
Exciting, because we'll be there.
Hell yeah.
Be there.
All right, we'll see you guys Monday.
Okay.
Thanks, Cora.
Have a good one.